Hello, hello, and welcome to my little class on overwhelm. I'm so excited. I've had such an amazing response to this. I think it's a problem that a lot of Enneagram 9s find themselves in, is experiencing this state of overwhelm and just kind of shutting down and laying around and numbing from their emotions. And I thought, why not just create a class? Because the things that I've learned and started implementing into my life have really helped me as a 9 to get out of this state. So I am Heather Fillmore, and I'm a certified life coach. I was trained at the Life Coach School, which is run by Brooke Castillo. She has a podcast called the Life Coach School podcast, and I highly recommend it. It just changed my life when I started learning these concepts. And I was in a state of depression, and as soon as I started learning these skills of how to change my thoughts and change my mindset around certain things and kind of start questioning the way that I've always done things, it helped me to bring myself out of that and create the kind of life that I wanted to. And I just want to tell you, I totally get it. Like, I know as a 9, you find yourself in this state of sloth so much because it's just too much. Everything is just too much for us. And so we retreat, or we buffer with food or with drinks or things that just make us so that we don't have to feel those negative emotions. And I'm a human. I have these things happen to me too sometimes, but it's now that I've learned these skills, it's helped me to come out of it a lot faster and just to be a lot more purposeful and intentional with my life. So I decided to become trained as a life coach and be able to help other people. And I've just switched a few months ago to only coaching Enneagram 9s, and it's been such a delight. I love working with people who think like I do, who have these same patterns and same struggles in their lives as far as their mentality goes. It's been a joy, and I just love 9s in general. I love the peaceful presence that they bring to the world and their compassion. Just they have so much to offer, and it's so much fun just working with people like this. I used to hang out in Overwhelm all the time. As you can see, I have a large family. This is my family of 9 children and 2 kid-in-laws now. This was in August when my daughter got married. We started with 5 biological kids, and I was overwhelmed from the first kid. I mean, it doesn't matter how many you have. It seems like it's always hard. But because of my, I think as 9s, we have this gift of having a really compassionate heart and just wanting to help people so much. I learned about these kids in other countries that were abandoned at birth because of their disabilities. And I just felt like it was my calling from the time I was born to be a mother to some of these kids. And so we, over the course of about 6 years, we added 4 children to our family with special needs. Anya here is from Russia, and Hazel is also from Russia. They came to us about 8 and 10 years ago. And then these 2 boys, I don't know if you can tell, the 2 girls have Down syndrome, and then the 2 boys, this one has mild cerebral palsy. And then this little guy, he doesn't really have special needs. They thought he had hydrocephalus. And you can see how he's turned around. He really struggles with anger, and he was not happy at this moment, and we could not get him to turn around for the picture. So I've had to let go a lot of my perfectionist tendencies with that one wing that I have, to always want to appear, like I've got everything together. You can see this little one, she put on her tennis shoes to walk down the aisle as the flower girl. This little one just refused to wear her shoes at all. And then we had him that was acting up. But this represents my life. And In fact, I have another, she had a baby since then. And it's been such a joy for me to um, see myself evolve as I've dealt with, okay, so now my 9 tendencies brought in all these kids, and now I have these challenges because there's a lot of noise and a lot of contention with these kids that have come from hard places and have a hard time regulating their emotions. And I just want to hide out from it. It's so uncomfortable to me. So learning these skills has really helped me to just feel like I have more of a handle on my emotions, and I can be more intentional and purposeful as a mother. And then, I'm able to actually build a business at the same time. I have 7 kids left at home, or wait, we're down to 6 now. But and I'm still able to take time for me and doing the things that I love and filling my cup, because I've learned how to get out of that state of overwhelm and just put myself first and my needs first, and at the same time grow my spirit and become who I feel like God has intended for me to be. Okay, so I'm going to start with why we feel overwhelmed. This is a picture of me on my bed with my little guy. When I get overwhelmed, I go to my bed and I shut my door and pick up my phone and start scrolling, or sometimes I just lay there. But he usually comes in after a couple of minutes and wants to snuggle. And so I thought that would be a good picture for this. But I just want to show you the model that I use as a life coach. This model is how we solve any problem in our life. We take the problem and we put the parts of the problem into this model. And the reason I want to teach you this first thing is so that I can show you that overwhelm doesn't just happen to us. Overwhelm is happening because of something else. And I'm going to show you what that is. Okay, so the model, what it is it starts with the circumstance. So just the circumstance would be just the boring old facts that are going on. And then we have that circumstance, there's no meaning to it, it just is, right? And then we think a thought about it, and that's what puts meaning to the circumstance. Our thoughts are totally optional. But sometimes they come because of our subconscious, beliefs and things. But it's our thoughts that create our feelings. And so we think that our feelings are just happening, but they are actually the result of a thought that's going on in our brain. And this is a super powerful thing to learn and to just notice throughout your life, because anytime you're feeling anything like frustration or aggravation or overwhelm, if you can step back and just ask yourself, what thought am I thinking that's causing this overwhelm? And just be curious and kind of observe what's happening, it suddenly gives you a lot more power over what's happening. Okay, so we've gotten down to the feeling line. So our thoughts create our feelings, and then our feelings are what drive our actions. That's what we do. Anything we do or we don't do in the world every day is because of a feeling that's creating those actions. I'm going to show you with an example here in a minute. And then our actions, all the things that we do in the world or we don't do, like we're hiding away, we're not doing some of those actions, that's what creates the result that we get from it all. So with the example of overwhelm, overwhelm is a feeling. It is not happening from the circumstance, because our feelings come from our thoughts. So if you have the circumstance of having all these things on your to-do list, just, you've got to, if you're a mom or a dad, you got to pick up your kids, you got to go to work, you got to get groceries, you've got to take your kids to all these different places, you've got to help your kid with a science project. I'm just going from my life and my circumstances. But all of these things on your to-do list are just things on your to-do list. They're just circumstances. There's no meaning attached to it at all. But then we have a thought that there's just too much to do. okay? This thought is what's creating the feeling of overwhelm. So the overwhelm isn't happening because of all of the things. The overwhelm is happening because we have a thought that we just can't do it all. It's just too much. Okay, so that's really important to notice. And then also, that feeling of overwhelm, it doesn't come from our actions. So if we're doing all these things, running here and there and all over the place, and you know, all the things, all those actions are not creating your feeling of overwhelm, because actions come after the feeling. So just knowing that and just recognizing it is really, really helpful, because it gives you power over your feeling. Okay, so in this circumstance, say I just have this thought that I've just got too much to do, I feel overwhelmed, and then I just go lay on my bed and scroll my phone on my phone. That's kind of my default action that I go to when I'm feeling overwhelmed. Either that, or I'll grab something to eat real quick to kind of send some quick endorphins to my brain. So realizing that laying in bed and scrolling on my phone isn't because of all of those things that I have to do, or all the noise that's happening outside, you know, in the living room with the kids. It's not because of all that. It's because I'm thinking it's a problem, and then I'm feeling overwhelmed. And the result of laying in my bed and scrolling on my phone is I'm just not getting anything done, right? So anytime we put our problems and break them down into a model like this, we know that we've done it right when the result ties into the thought, because our thoughts, we create kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have this thought, and then we actually have to, like, subconsciously, we think we've got to prove to ourselves that it's right, because that seems safe. So we have this thought like there's just too much to do. And then all of this happens, the overwhelm, the laying in bed, and da-da-da-da. That creates the result that there's just too much to do. You're just not getting it all done. So we know that I can see that I've done this model right, because the result is proof for my thought. It is amazing how this works. Okay, so here's the reason that 9s specifically, sorry, I got to move myself out of the way here. 9s specifically take on too much. Okay, I sat down and I just thought this through, and I thought, because I've been coaching 9s for a few months now, and I am a 9, and so here's some of the things that we do. First of all, we want to keep the peace. Like, we all know that's our big overlying desire as an Enneagram 9, is to just keep the peace at all cost. So we think that taking on all of these things somehow is going to help keep the peace. It's going to help other people feel better. It's going to just somehow just keep life moving along at a nice steady hum. That's the first thing. Secondly, we want to help everyone so that they can feel better. We are just born with extra compassionate and loving hearts. Just like me with adopting my kids with special needs. I saw their need, I saw them on the internet, and I was like, I can help, we can help. We can make life better for them. You know, we've got a great marriage, got plenty of room in our house. You know, and so I took on all this. I got really ambitious. I don't know if you guys are super ambitious with things like this. I've found that I am. This might not be a 9 thing, but I do tend to take on things so that other people, so that I can truly help other people to feel greater peace in their lives. Maybe it shows up differently for you. You know, trying to solve people's problems and get in there and help them, and you know, all the things that we do for other people. So that can really weigh down on us. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, like with some of your friends, how you're feeling like you have to like help them with all of their issues that come up and kind of be there for them all the time. And what happens is it just like starts to really weigh us down. Okay, the third thing is we say yes to things that we don't really want to do. This is a really big one with peacemakers. We we basically just think that if we don't say yes, it's going to cause a rift in our relationship with the person that's asking us to do this thing, or the family members that are just kind of expecting us to do these things because we've always done them. And that seems like a really, really big threat to our brains. And so we end up just doing the things that we don't really want to do. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, a little bit more. The next thing is we tend to get excited about trying new things, but then we struggle to stay focused. So I thought this was just me that did this. And then I started interviewing Enneagram 9s when I was kind of doing the research for my coaching practice. This is probably every single person. I talked to like 25 people. Every single person had this issue. So you have this great idea or this, Instagram ad that comes up for, some class. Speaking of which, that's exactly what this is, right? But something that like catches our attention, and then we're like, it's like a dog that like, oh, cat, like our brains just go, okay, oh, I got to do that. That's going to make life easier for me, or that's going to help, organize my life, or whatever it is. And so we get these ideas, and then we're excited for a minute, and then we just kind of don't stick to it. And it just falls by the wayside. But the problem is we've got all these things started, all these little projects going, but we're not finishing any of them. And then all of a sudden our brain is on overdrive because we just can't do it all. So we just kind of forget hardly any of it, and we just numb out from our lives. And can anyone relate? Yes. Another thing is we are so others focused that we tend to forget about ourselves. We are externally focused. We're always focusing on everyone else, and we're not bringing it in and just noticing what it is that we need. And this is so huge. That's one of the main things that I do in my program, is help 9s to learn how to come into themselves and just nurture and love and put themselves first before everything else. Because when you do that, everything else seems to fall in place a lot better, and we're able to love our people more and show up better for them. Okay, so another thing that we do is we don't regard ourselves and our own opinions. First of all, we don't really have an opinion a lot of times, but even if we do have an opinion, we just lose ourselves in the opinions of everyone else. And that can start to kind of build up and build up and build up to where we have a hard time like figuring out our place in the world. And that can become really overwhelming to our brains. And then last, we think it's easier to just merge with other people and just do what they want to do than it is to make our own choices. That feels a lot more comfortable to us. It's something that we started doing as a child. That's how we developed this personality trait. And we think that it's scary to actually make our opinions known. And so we're merging with other people, and again, the same thing happens. It just piles up, and we're not able to be present for ourselves and give ourselves what we need. So here's an example of what happens when we're people pleasing. I'm just using this little example. So say a neighbor asked you to babysit her kids, and you had 20 things that you wanted to get done today. And you had this thought that if you don't say yes, she's not going to think that you care. Okay, this is a biggie. I think this happens a lot for us. So the circumstance is just the neighbor asked me to babysit her kids. Okay, just plain old facts. Anyone in the world would agree that this is what's happening. And then you had a thought that if I don't say yes, she's going to think that I don't care. And this is a big problem because I want her to know how much I love her and appreciate her. And then that gives you this feeling of obligation, like you have to say yes. And that feeling of obligation is what's causing you in your action line to resent her to not be patient with the kids. They're, you know, they come over and you're just kind of grumbling all day, not happy, not present with them. And then the result of all those actions is you're not really the friend that you want to be, or to her or to yourself, right? Like you're not showing up for yourself, and then you're kind of lying and being fake to her. That's what happens when we people please. It's a lie. And let me show you what happens here. So when we're people pleasing, or we're basically not telling the truth, because we're just doing whatever it is that they want us to do, and when inside we don't want to do it, so we're lying to them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have not caring at all for them, like just going ahead and just doing whatever in the heck we want to do all the time, and not caring what anyone thinks, or you know, showing up in the way that we want to show up. And that's not telling the truth either, because we do care, right? What we want to do is we want to kind of get to a happy medium. So not people pleasing all the time and not caring all the time. We want to get to the point where we're just right in the middle. So it looks like saying, so you're, say in this example where your friend asked you to babysit, it's telling the truth out of love for her and also for you. So this looks like saying, you know, Lisa, I love you so much. You're like such a good friend to me. I just appreciate your friendship so much. But I've got a lot going on and I just need to take care of me today. So I hope you understand. Thank you for thinking of me, and I hope you can find something else. You know, but it's a no. I'm sorry. That's what it looks like. I know this sounds super scary and confrontational to us as nines. It's so scary for us to do that. But I'm telling you, the more you start doing this in your life, the easier it gets. And all those people that are just used to you just doing whatever they want you to do all the time, it might be a little uncomfortable at first. You know, you might kind of notice a little rift going on. But you've got to realize that you cannot control their thoughts. No matter how much you do to show up and be a you know, an awesome family member or a friend to them, you cannot control their thoughts. They're going to think whatever they're going to think. And so when you're taking actions in order to manage other people's emotions, and you're not actually managing your own emotions, that doesn't work, because it creates resentment and overwhelm. So again, you're not responsible for what other people think, and you're also not that powerful. Like you cannot make them think anything. And that's good news because it takes all the pressure off, and you can just decide to just show up in truth and love for them. So, and one thing that I like to remember too, because I think a lot of us who are, those of you that are Christian, kind of have this, some of us, we have this belief that, you know, to be like Jesus, we just have to serve all the time. And we forget ourselves in it. And I feel like God does not want us to lie to people. He wants us to be true to ourselves. He wants us to love ourselves and not pretend to be someone that we aren't. So take that pressure off of yourself and just learn to love yourself and show up for yourself. That's just so much better all around. Okay, so I'm going to get into the action line of your model. Okay, I've taught you now how to control or to reframe your thinking around overwhelm and take the power back as far as realizing that feeling comes from your thoughts. Now I'm going to help you to prevent it from happening by giving you some things to put in your action line of the model. Okay, first thing you're going to do, so I'm using December as an example. You could do this any time of the year, but for December, we have all the holiday things, right? So you're going to make a really reasonable list of everything that you need to get done this month. I find that nines have a hard time, like some of us, unless you have a really heavy one wing and you're a planner and a journaler. This is hard for people to do, to actually take the time to write things down and like take a look at it all. But this is the first thing. You're going to make a reasonable list of everything that you need to get done this month. When I say reasonable, you're not packing in all these things that you just think you have to do, but just reasonable in that, like, you can put them all in your calendar and still have space on your calendar for all the variables that come up with life. And you're gonna, okay, now that you've got this list, so you've got, like, I've got to cook dinner every day, I've got to have this much work, spending time in my business or work, going to church, whatever it is that you do. So you got it all there. And then number 2 is you're going to use what I'm going to call a 2020 mentality. How many of you guys have had a little bit of a shift in your thinking about what is most important and what things you can put down on your calendar and what things really you can just let go of? I think that's one of the most amazing things that have come from this coronavirus year, is really figuring out how to do things differently. Like my husband, he has 6 employees and he was in this beautiful office space and they were all working out of the office, and then the virus thing happened and they all went home and started working from home. Well, what happened is they had the best last 2 quarters that they've ever had as far as revenue is concerned. And all of a sudden he figured out, okay, that's interesting. Like, I never considered even doing this, but look at what's come from it. So he just decided that they're not going to have that office anymore. And we built out a room in our basement for him to work out of, and all of his employees are staying home and it's working out great. So 2020 mentality is basically, it's like you're thinking of everything like you are for the first time, like you've never thought of it before. You're like, okay, I've been doing it this way my whole life, but what if I just decided to do it differently? I wonder what would happen if I did it differently. So even the things that you have to do, that you think that you have to do, like being a parent or going to work, all those things, take those things and just in your mind, just quit it all. So this is what we do, is we're like basically taking all of that out of the equation. So I don't have to be a mom, right? I could leave. I could go and live in a cabin in the mountains all by myself and not have to talk to anybody, right? Like, go there with your mind and realize that everything that you're doing in life is a choice. You think that you have to do it, but you actually are choosing to do these things. So get really creative and come up with ways that you can simplify. So maybe, like, you've always done this cookie exchange in your neighborhood and everyone knows that that's just this fun thing that you always organize. Decide if you really want to do it. Take it out and quit it for a minute and just decide, is this something that I want to have on my calendar? Am I doing it because I want to, or because people are expecting me to? Go through everything that you do that you just think you have to do and ask yourself if you want to do it. And if you want to do it, then put it down, right? So cross off all the things that you don't want to do in your list. And then you're going to add back all the things that you really do want to do this month. So now you've got a list of the things that you love. And what's going to be different about this is, instead of just doing them and then like hating it and feeling like it's just too much, you're going to be doing it out of excitement and joy and whatever. So for example, if If you're someone that doesn't like to cook, you could decide that you're not going to make dinner anymore. You could get creative about other things that you could do. You could have your partner cook, or you could order takeout some nights. You could have your teenager cook one night a week. So just get really, really creative and think of ways that you can create the things that you have to do without doing it out of obligation, because that's what creates the overwhelm. Okay, so now you've got this list of things that you actually want to do, and then you're going to calendar all of those things. So you take your month-long calendar, whether it's Google Calendars or a paper calendar. I use Google Calendars because it kind of syncs with my coaching and stuff. But whatever works for you, you're going to put in everything that you want to do. But before that, I want you to put in self-care. The things that you need to do to keep yourself, your spirit, your emotions, everything healthy. So for me, this looks like going for walks and listening to either podcasts or uplifting music. It looks like this morning, I have a yoga class that I do on Monday mornings. Moving my body is very, very helpful for me emotionally and physically. And I just want to say, as nines, we're not like very aware of or in tune with our bodies. And so movement of any kind is really important for us to incorporate into our schedules. So schedule that first. And anything else that you consider self-care. Reading the Bible, journaling, getting together with your girlfriends, having coffee, or going out to lunch. Those things that really keep your spirit alive and happy, make sure those go first on your calendar. Because if you don't do those things first, it's like trying to drive around a car that doesn't have gas in it. You've got to have like the fuel to get you to do all the other things. Okay, so once you put those self-care things on your calendar, then you're going to add all the other things. So whatever, parties or school projects, science fair. I have that on my schedule this month with my 6th grader. All the things, just put them all in. All the things that you want to help with, right? That you want to do. And then you're going to make sure that you leave plenty of space in your calendar for all the variables that are going to come up, because they are, right? You're going to have sickness that pops in. If you have babies, you're going to have nap times that don't work out at the right time. It's just life. And so depending on how, full your life is with all these things, plan for that. Whether you need to, something that would normally take you 45 minutes, maybe plan 2 or 3 hours for it. But you want to actually have it on your calendar. And then number 5 is plan more in detail at the beginning of each week. So you've got it all on your calendar, and now you're going to start at the beginning of each week looking at your calendar and adjusting whatever you need to adjust, depending on what is happening. And then number 6 is, this is really important, you guys, plan on not feeling like sticking to your schedule. Who here has a hard time sticking to your schedule? I think every single 9 that I've ever talked to has a hard time sticking to their schedule. So realize that your brain is going to go there when it gets to, when it gets to be Monday and you've got this, and this on your schedule. Like this morning, I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got this webinar I've got to record. I don't know if I have time to go to yoga. I didn't feel like going to yoga, but because it was written there and I had paid for the class, I'm going, right? And I just went and I did it, and my body feels better. My mind is invigorated. So plan on not feeling like it and sticking to it anyway. This is so amazing when you start doing this, because you're showing yourself, you're basically regarding yourself as an important human being. Instead of regarding everyone else as being more important, you're looking at yourself and seeing yourself as just as important as them, And every single time you show up and actually do the things that you have listed there to do, you are showing yourself that you love yourself and that you matter, that your presence in the world matters, because you do matter. That is the biggest message that we need to learn as nines, is how valuable we are to the world and how much the world needs us. Okay, so those are all the actions. And honestly, if having all these things on your calendar is too much for you, take it way down. And I want you to just focus and constrain on one thing a day. So don't look at the whole picture. Just look at what you have today. If you need to cut back, go ahead, but focus on the most important things first. And then just notice how you're able to show up a little better, because you're realizing that your overwhelming feeling only comes from your thoughts. Super powerful when we start realizing that and taking more action and more control. Okay, so I think that's it. And I just want to tell you, this is what I do every day. I help Enneagram 9s to live at their healthiest level. I help you to become more of an achiever like the 3. Because when we are at our healthiest levels, it's amazing what we can accomplish. We can get in there and we can get things done, and we can create more for the world. We have such amazing gifts of being able to truly help people and live the life that God has given us. All we have to do is get our brains into that healthy place. So this is what I do as a life coach for Enneagram 9s, is I help you to do that. I have an email that I send out every Thursday. I call it Thursday Thoughts, and it's just some little mindset ideas and thoughts, not very long. All of you who are watching this I put you on my email list. If you don't want to be on my email list, just unsubscribe. But I think you're really going to want to be on it, because it's very specific information that helps you with the way that you think. I just want to tell you, you're on my list. So don't be surprised if next Thursday you get something. I try to keep it to once a week, but every once in a while I have things like this that come up where I want to tell people about it. So my website is www.heatherfillmorecoaching.com. And if you would like to give coaching a little try, I do a free discovery session with people. So just go to that website. Fillmore is spelled with 2 L's. And click on Work with Me. And there's a calendar where you can just choose a time that works for you and me both, and schedule that free session. My program that I do with 9s is called the Purposeful Peacemaker Program. It's kind of a tongue twister. I basically help peacemakers to learn to be more purposeful. So I teach them how to manage their mindset. I teach them how to feel their emotions. This is huge for 9s. I teach you how to process your emotions. I also help you to release a lot of those trapped emotions that have been there from the time that you were little, that are keeping you stuck and keeping you from you have all these great ideas and you have this new mindset. And you're like, I'm going to do this. And you're all excited. And then you have these triggers that come in, and these little things that pop into your head, like, you're not good enough. People are going to make fun of you. People don't like what you have to share. You're too boring. These are all from these emotions that have become trapped in our bodies from the time that we're little. So I have some awesome gifts and some awesome training that I can help you to process and release those emotions so that you don't have those triggers coming up. So that's part of my program. If you want to, we don't have to do that. We can just stick to the mindset stuff. But I've started doing this with my clients, and it's been a beautiful thing to see the transformations happening with them. So that program is 3 months long. It's 12 weeks, and My price right now for those 12 weeks of coaching is just over $1,000, but I'm going to be increasing my price soon because my practice is almost full. And so if you want to get in at that price, now is the time to do that. Yeah, and so you just schedule a free discovery session with me, and we will talk about some of your main problems that are keeping you stuck in your life. And I'm just going to show you what coaching can do for you. Coaching, this causal type of coaching has really changed my life and made a huge difference. I feel like a completely different person than I was a couple of years ago. And it has helped. Oh, and I also have found that I always need to have a life coach my whole life, because even though I know these skills, there's these blind spots that I don't see. And this is with everyone in the world. We have these blind spots. It's hard for us to see what's going on. And so you got to have someone help you to read the label from inside the bottle and kind of show you what it says. So that is what we do in a discovery session, is I help you to just kind of get a taste of that and just feel a little bit more empowered with at least just one of your problems. Okay, so that is it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you were able to learn something that you can take into this month and just have an amazing holiday. Just decide you're not going to be overwhelmed. That doesn't have to be part of the equation. Just decide that this is going to be an awesome month, and you're going to do things differently, and it's going to be great. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. We'll see you later.